Lieutenant Anna Reeves stared at the blinking lights on her console, her heart beating faster with each pulse. After 5 years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, they had finally found something. The signal was unlike anything she had seen before, a pattern too regular to be natural, too complex to be random space noise. "Captain Maxwell," she called out, her voice steady despite her excitement. "I think you need to see this." Captain Peter Maxwell walked across the bridge of the UES horizon, his footsteps echoing in the quiet space. The bridge crew turned to watch as he approached Anna's station. At 52, Maxwell had spent more than half his life in space, but the wonder of it had never left his eyes. "What have you got for me, Lieutenant?" he asked, leaning over her shoulder to look at the display. "It's a signal, sir. It's repeating every 12 seconds, and it's using frequencies we've never seen used together before." Anna pulled up the visual representation of the signal. "Look at how it shifts between these bands. This isn't random. It's a pattern. It's like someone trying to play a song on an instrument they don't quite understand." Maxwell studied the display, his expression growing more serious with each passing moment. "And you're certain this isn't one of ours? Not some lost probe or forgotten satellite?" "No, sir. I've checked it against every known human transmission pattern. This is something new." Anna couldn't keep the excitement from her voice. "Sir, I think this might be it. First contact." The captain straightened up and looked out the main viewport at the endless field of stars. Humanity had been searching for intelligent life since they first looked up at the night sky. Now, after centuries of wondering, decades of searching, and countless false alarms, they might have finally found it. "How far away is the source?" Maxwell asked. Chief Navigator Danny Wells spoke up from his station. "About 6 light hours from our current position, sir. It's coming from the direction of the Kuiper Belt." Maxwell nodded slowly. "Protocol says we should report this to command and wait for instructions." He paused, looking around at his crew. "But by the time we get those instructions, whatever's out there might be gone. Lieutenant Reeves, what's your gut telling you about this signal?" Anna took a deep breath. "It feels like a distress call, sir. The way it pulses, the urgency in the pattern. Someone out there needs help." The captain walked to his chair and sat down, his fingers drumming on the armrest. Protocol was clear. They should wait. But protocol had been written by people who had never actually found alien life. They were in uncharted territory now. "Mr. Wells, plot a course to the signal source. Chief Engineer Foster, I want engines at maximum efficiency." Maxwell's voice was firm. "If there's someone out there who needs help, we're not going to sit here and wait for paperwork." The bridge came alive with activity. Ryan Foster's voice came over the comm from engineering, confirming that the engines were ready for extended high-speed travel. The massive ship turned slowly in space, its powerful engines glowing bright blue against the darkness. As they traveled, Anna worked tirelessly at her station, analyzing every aspect of the strange signal. The more she studied it, the more convinced she became that they were dealing with something truly alien. The mathematics behind the transmission spoke of a mind that thought in ways humans never had. 6 hours later, they arrived at the coordinates where the signal originated. What they found made the entire bridge crew fall silent. Floating in the void was a ship, but unlike anything human eyes had ever seen. It seemed to be made of crystalline structures that caught and reflected the distant sunlight in impossible ways. Parts of it were clearly damaged, with large sections missing or shattered. Despite its wounds, it was beautiful. "Life signs?" Maxwell asked, breaking the awed silence. The ship's doctor, Amy Klein, checked her readings. "1, sir. Very faint, but it's there. And it's unlike anything in our database." Maxwell stood from his chair. "Deploy the rescue shuttle. Dr. Klein, you're with me. Lieutenant Reeves, you too. If whatever's over there is still conscious, we're going to need you to try to communicate with it." Anna felt her hands shake slightly as she gathered her equipment. This was the moment she had trained for her entire career, but no training could truly prepare someone for humanity's first meeting with an alien intelligence. The rescue shuttle was small but well-equipped. As they approached the crystal ship, Anna could see more details of its construction. What had looked like random crystalline growths from far away now appeared to be intricate patterns, possibly some kind of writing or artistic expression. They found an entry point through one of the damaged sections. The interior of the ship was even stranger than the exterior. The walls seemed to pulse with faint light, and the architecture followed rules that made human eyes struggle to understand what they were seeing. "Over here," Dr. Klein called out, her scanner pointing down a corridor that curved in ways that seemed to defy geometry. "The life sign is getting stronger." They found the alien in what appeared to be the ship's control center. It was a being of pure crystal, similar to its ship, with patterns of light moving through its transparent body. It lay on the floor, clearly injured, its crystalline form cracked in several places. As they approached, the alien's inner lights pulsed brighter. Patterns of color moved through its body, creating complex shapes and sequences. Anna quickly set up her equipment, trying to record and analyze the patterns. "Hello," she said softly, knowing the word itself wouldn't mean anything but hoping her tone would convey their peaceful intentions. "We're here to help." The crystal being's lights pulsed in response. Anna's equipment began recording patterns she had never seen before. But there was something familiar about them. They reminded her of the signal that had led them here. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with wonder. I think it's trying to talk to us. The patterns, they're similar to the distress signal, but more complex. It's using light and electromagnetic pulses to communicate." Dr. Klein ran her scanner over the alien's injured form. "These cracks in its structure, they're like wounds in an organic being. I think I can help, but I've never treated anything like this before." The alien's lights pulsed again, and this time Anna noticed a pattern. "It's repeating something, the same sequence over and over. I think it's trying to tell us something urgent." Captain Maxwell knelt down beside the crystal being. "Whatever you're trying to tell us, we'll listen. But first, we need to help you heal." As Dr. Klein began her careful work of treating the alien's injuries, Anna continued recording and analyzing its light patterns. With each passing minute, she began to understand more. The patterns weren't just random pulses. They were a language, complex and beautiful, written in light instead of sound. The crystal being's lights grew stronger as Dr. Klein worked, its patterns becoming more distinct. Anna's translation software began to pick up recurring sequences, the first steps toward understanding this new form of communication. They had done it. They had made first contact. But as Anna studied the patterns more closely, she began to realize that the alien's urgent message wasn't just a call for help. It was a warning. Something had attacked this ship, something that had the power to shatter living crystal. And whatever it was, it might still be out there, hunting. The age of humanity's solitude in space was over. But their first contact came with a price. The knowledge that the galaxy was not just full of wonders, but dangers beyond their imagination. As Anna worked to understand their new alien guest, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger story. 3 days had passed since they rescued the crystal being. The alien now rested in a specially prepared room aboard the UES Horizon, where Dr. Amy Klein had managed to help its crystalline body heal using a combination of mineral solutions and carefully controlled light therapy. Anna Reeves sat cross-legged on the floor near the alien, which the crew had started calling Echo because of the way its light patterns seemed to bounce and repeat off the walls. Her translation equipment surrounded her, screens displaying endless streams of data as she worked to understand Echo's language of light and energy. "The patterns are getting clearer," she said to Captain Maxwell, who stood nearby watching. "Echo is trying to tell us something about why it was fleeing." Echo's body pulsed with blue and silver light, creating complex patterns that Anna's equipment now partially understood. The translation appeared on her main screen, broken but becoming more coherent with each passing hour. "Danger, coming," Anna read aloud. "The Void Hunters." She looked up at Maxwell. "That's the third time Echo has mentioned these Void Hunters." Echo's lights flashed more intensely, drawing patterns in the air that Anna's software struggled to keep up with. The crystal beam's message became more urgent, its colors shifting to deep purples and reds. "They hunt. They destroy. All who travel beyond." Anna's voice trailed off as she worked to understand the next sequence. "All who travel beyond their stars." I think Echo means species that achieve faster than light travel. Maxwell's face grew serious. "Are you saying there's something out there that attacks civilizations once they develop space travel?" Echo's body produced a pattern that Anna's software now recognized as confirmation. The aliens' lights formed images in the air, shapes of ships, explosions, entire worlds going dark. The translation software worked overtime to keep up with the flood of information. Echo's species, the Lumini, were attacked 6 months ago, Anna explained as she read the translations. They had just made their first successful faster-than-light journey. Within days, the Void Hunters appeared. Ryan Foster, who had been quietly observing from the doorway, stepped forward. "What exactly are these Void Hunters? Some kind of alien police force?" Echo's response came in rapid pulses of light that made the translation software beep in protest. "No, older," Anna translated. "Echo says they're ancient. They appear whenever a species reaches for the stars. And they test them." "No, that's not quite right. They judge them." The crystal being's lights formed new patterns, showing scenes of destruction that made Anna's heart sink. The Void Hunters have been doing this for thousands of years. Any civilization that achieves faster than light travel gets a visit from them. Most don't survive the encounter. Captain Maxwell walked to the room's viewport, looking out at the stars. "Why? What's their purpose?" Echo's answer came slowly, the patterns more deliberate now. Anna watched as the translation appeared word by word on her screen. "They believe they protect the galaxy," she read. "But their idea of protection is to eliminate any species that might become a threat. Echo's people, the Lumini, were nearly wiped out. Echo is one of the few survivors, sent out to warn others." Ryan stepped closer to Echo, studying the alien's crystalline form. "Can they be fought? Your people must have tried to defend themselves." The answer made Echo's whole body dim, its lights barely flickering. "Many have tried. None have succeeded. The Void Hunter's technology is far beyond anything Echo's people had ever seen." Anna was about to ask another question when a loud alarm blared through the ship. The emergency lights began flashing red, and Chief Navigator Wells's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, to the bridge. Long-range sensors have detected multiple anomalies approaching human space. The energy signatures, they're unlike anything we've ever seen." Echo's reaction was immediate and dramatic. The alien's body flashed with patterns of warning and fear, creating a light show that filled the entire room. "No time," Anna translated, her voice shaking. They've followed my trail here. The Void Hunters are coming." Captain Maxwell was already moving. "How long do we have?" 3 weeks, Anna read from Echo's urgent light patterns. "Maybe less. They will test humanity as they tested others. They will judge your worth to exist among the stars." In the next hour, the bridge of the UES horizon became a center of frantic activity. Messages were sent to Earth's Defense Command, carrying urgent warnings and all the data they had gathered from Echo. The crystal being worked with Anna to provide as much information as possible about the Void Hunters' capabilities and tactics. Ryan Foster spent hours with Echo, learning about Lumini technology. The alien showed him how they had tried to defend themselves, what had worked, and what had failed. The engineer's mind raced with ideas, combining human ingenuity with Echo's advanced knowledge. "Look at this," Ryan said, pointing to a diagram Echo had created with light patterns. The Void Hunter ships use some kind of energy field we've never seen before, but Echo's people found a way to detect it. If we can modify our sensors. Captain Maxwell gathered his senior staff in the conference room. The mood was tense as they reviewed the information they had gathered. Earth's military command is skeptical, he told them, but they're concerned enough about the sensor readings to begin preparations. We need to get Echo back to Earth. Every piece of knowledge, every bit of technology the Lumini can share with us could be crucial. Anna looked at her latest translations. Echo says the Void Hunters have a pattern. They always attack the same way, testing a species' military response, their technology, their ability to defend themselves. But she paused, studying the new pattern that Echo had shown her. No species has ever tried anything else. They all fought back exactly as the Void Hunters expected them to. What are you suggesting? Maxwell asked. I don't know yet, Anna replied. But Echo's people fought with advanced technology and lost. Maybe we need to think about this differently. Maybe we need to surprise them. As the UES Horizon raced back toward Earth, its crew worked tirelessly to prepare for what was coming. They had 3 weeks to ready humanity for its greatest test, a test that every other species had failed. But as Anna worked with Echo, translating more of the aliens' knowledge and history, she began to see something that gave her hope. The Void Hunters were methodical, unchanging in their approach. They had been doing the same thing for thousands of years, testing species the same way every time. And maybe, just maybe, that was their weakness. Because if there was one thing humans were good at, it was finding new ways to solve old problems. Echo's lights pulsed with what Anna now recognized as determination. The alien had risked everything to warn humanity. Now it was up to them to prove they could succeed where others had failed, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the one thing that made humans different: their ability to think outside the boundaries that others took for granted. The war was coming, but it would not be the war anyone expected, not even the Void Hunters themselves. The meeting room at Earth's Defense Command was packed with military leaders from every major nation. The crystal being Echo stood in the center, its body glowing with patterns of light that Anna Reeves carefully translated. On screens around the room, sensor data showed the approaching Void Hunter fleet. 2 weeks, Anna translated as Echo's lights pulsed. That's all the time we have left to prepare. General Laura Mitchell, the head of Earth's combined defense forces, stepped forward. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her face showed the strain of countless sleepless nights. The world's governments have agreed to work together, she announced. For the first time in human history, we're truly united. Every resource, every weapon, every bit of technology we have is being pooled together. Ryan Foster stood next to Echo, pointing to diagrams they had created together. We've already started upgrading our defensive systems with Lumini technology. Echo has shown us how to detect the Void Hunter's energy fields. But, he paused, looking at the alien. Echo's people had better technology than us, and they still lost. Lieutenant Commander Susan Barnes, who led the tactical response team, spoke up. Then we need something they won't expect. Echo, you said they follow the same pattern every time they attack. Tell us more about that. Echo's lights created complex patterns in the air, which Anna quickly translated. They start with a show of force, destroying a few outer colonies or stations. Then they wait to see how the species responds. They judge based on the response. Judge what exactly? Susan asked, leaning forward. Anna watched as new patterns formed. Echo says, they judge worthiness, but not just military strength. They're testing something else too, something Echo's people never understood. The room fell quiet as Echo's lights dimmed, showing scenes from previous encounters. Dozens of alien civilizations, all falling to the same pattern of attack. But as Anna studied the patterns, she noticed something. Look at this, she said suddenly. Every species responded the same way. They fought back with everything they had. None of them tried anything different. General Mitchell frowned. Are you suggesting we shouldn't defend ourselves? No, Anna replied, watching Echo's lights pulse in agreement. I'm suggesting we defend ourselves differently. Echo's people used advanced weapons and shields. The species before them did the same. What if that's exactly what the Void Hunters expect? What if that's part of their test? Ryan walked to a large screen showing Earth's defensive preparations. We've been so focused on upgrading our weapons, we haven't stopped to ask why these Void Hunters do what they do. They're testing species, yes, but what are they really looking for? Echo's lights flashed rapidly, creating new patterns that made Anna's translation software work overtime. Echo says they call themselves Guardians, protectors of the galaxy. But from what? What are they so afraid of? Susan Barnes stood up and walked to the center of the room. Someone created them, she said slowly. These Void Hunters, they're not a natural species. They're following programming that's thousands of years old, which means someone programmed them to do this. Why? The room buzzed with conversation as people considered this new angle. Echo's lights pulsed with what Anna now recognized as excitement. The Void Hunters are looking for something specific. Anna translated as Echo's patterns grew more complex. Every species they've encountered has tried to prove their worth through strength alone. But what if that's not what they're really testing? General Mitchell raised her hand for silence. You have a theory, Lieutenant Reeves. Anna nodded, looking at Echo for confirmation. I think they're looking for a species that won't repeat whatever mistake their creators made. Every civilization they've encountered has shown them the same thing: the willingness to use maximum force when threatened. What if that's exactly what they're programmed to prevent? The next week passed in a blur of activity. While the world's military forces prepared traditional defenses, a second plan took shape. Ryan Foster worked with teams of engineers to modify communication arrays. Susan Barnes trained her forces in completely new tactics, and Anna spent every waking hour with Echo, learning more about how the Void Hunters thought. They discovered that the Void Hunters communicated using similar patterns to the Lumini, but much more rigid and structured. Echo helped them understand these patterns, showing them how to potentially communicate with the ancient machines. They're not just destroyers, Anna explained to the command staff. They're judgers, weighers of worth, and for thousands of years they've been judging species the same way, by seeing how they react to a threat. Susan's team developed new protocols, completely different from standard military response. If they expect us to fight, she said, we'll give them something else entirely. 7 days before the Void Hunters were due to arrive, Earth was ready, but not in the way anyone would have expected. Instead of a planet bristling with weapons, they had created something unprecedented. Massive communication arrays pointed toward space, ready to broadcast. Libraries of human culture, art, and history were prepared for transmission. And most importantly, they had prepared a message, not one of defiance or strength, but one of understanding and hope. Echo's lights pulsed with approval as they reviewed their preparations. No species has ever tried this, Anna translated. The Void Hunters have never encountered a civilization that didn't immediately prepare for war. General Mitchell stood at the main command center, looking at the screens showing the approaching fleet. This is a huge risk, she said. If we're wrong about this. We're not wrong, Anna replied firmly. Echo's people fought with advanced technology and lost. Others fought with different weapons and lost. Every species tried to prove they deserved to exist by showing how well they could fight. None of them tried to prove they deserved to exist by showing how well they could understand. Ryan Foster checked the final modifications to their communication systems. All the arrays are ready, he reported. We can broadcast across all their frequencies. Susan Barnes stood with her teams, ready but not in the way they had trained their entire careers. Defense forces are in position, she said, but not to fight. As the final days ticked down, humanity prepared for its greatest test. But unlike every species that had come before them, they weren't preparing for war. They were preparing for something the Void Hunters had never seen before: a species that understood that the greatest strength might not lie in the ability to fight, but in the wisdom to find another way. Echo's lights pulsed one final time before they detected the first Void Hunter ships entering the solar system. The pattern was simple. One Anna didn't need her software to translate. Hope. The Void Hunter ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, their massive forms blocking out the stars behind them. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Earth's long-range cameras showed vessels that looked like pieces of the night sky come alive. In Earth's main defense command center, Anna Reeves stood with Echo, watching the screens. The crystal beams' lights pulsed with nervous energy as they tracked the approaching fleet. "They're following the exact pattern Echo warned us about," Susan Barnes said, pointing to the tactical display. 3 ships breaking off from the main fleet, heading toward our outer colonies. General Mitchell nodded grimly. "Just as they've done with every other civilization. They're expecting us to either evacuate the colonies or try to defend them." She turned to Anna. "Are we ready?" Anna checked her equipment one last time. "All communication arrays are aligned. Echo has helped us match their frequencies perfectly. We can broadcast to every ship in their fleet at once." Instead of evacuating the colonies, they had filled them with something very different. Each settlement now housed massive broadcast centers, ready to transmit not weapons fire, but something the Void Hunters had never faced before. First wave approaching Neptune's orbit, Ryan Foster reported from his station. "They'll be in range in 5 minutes." General Mitchell took a deep breath. "Begin transmission." Across the solar system, humanity's message began to flow. From the colonies came not defensive fire, but music, Earth's greatest symphonies, folk songs from every culture, the simple lullabies mothers sang to their children. Along with the music came images, art from throughout human history, from cave paintings to modern masterpieces. On the main screen, they watched as the 3 Void Hunter ships slowed their approach. "They're scanning the transmissions," Ryan said. "Energy readings show they're analyzing the data." Anna worked with Echo to monitor the Void Hunters' responses. The crystal beam's lights flickered rapidly as it helped interpret their reactions. "They're confused," Anna translated. "This isn't in their programming. No species has ever responded this way." From Earth's surface, more transmissions joined the symphony. History began to flow toward the alien ships, not just humanity's victories, but their failures too. Stories of wars and how they ended, of enemies becoming friends, of bridges built across seemingly impossible divides. "Second wave beginning," Susan announced. Now they added literature, poetry, novels, philosophical works. But most importantly, they transmitted records of humanity's greatest achievements in understanding. Scientific papers showing how humans had learned to see from others' perspectives, psychological studies about empathy, documents showing how former enemies had learned to work together. The Void Hunter ships had completely stopped their advance. More ships from their main fleet were moving forward, gathering around the first 3. "They're communicating with each other," Ryan reported. "The energy patterns Echo showed us. They're trying to make sense of what we're doing." Captain Maxwell, who had been quietly watching, stepped forward. "Now, Anna, send my message." Anna nodded and activated a special channel. Maxwell's voice rang out across space, translated into the Void Hunter's own communication patterns, thanks to Echo's help. "We know you are testing us," his message began. "We know you have found every other species wanting. They all tried to prove their worth through force, through their ability to fight. We choose a different path. We will prove our worth through our ability to understand." The message continued, explaining humanity's hypothesis about the Void Hunter's true purpose. As Maxwell spoke, more transmissions flooded toward the alien ships, examples of humans protecting other species on Earth, of people risking their lives to save even their enemies, of forgiveness offered when revenge would have been easier. "Your creators," Maxwell's message concluded, "must have feared that other species would repeat their mistakes. So they created you to test us, to eliminate those who showed the same aggressive patterns. But we are not them, and we can prove it not through our strength, but through our wisdom. Hours passed as the Void Hunter ships remained motionless. Echo's lights pulsed with increasing excitement as it helped Anna interpret their communications. "They're debating," Anna translated. "This is causing disagreement among them. Some are arguing that this response falls outside their parameters for judgment. Others," she paused, watching Echo's patterns carefully, "others are questioning their fundamental programming for the first time." Susan's tactical display showed more changes. The main fleet is spreading out, but not in an attack formation. They're arranging themselves to better receive our transmissions. Ryan studied the energy readings. Their weapons aren't charging. Instead, they're diverting power to their communication and analysis systems. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, something unprecedented happened. One of the Void Hunter ships began moving closer, but not in an aggressive way. It was approaching Earth alone, its energy signature completely different from anything Echo had ever seen. "They're responding," Anna said, her voice filled with wonder as she interpreted their transmission with Echo's help. "They want to talk. They're requesting permission to send representatives to Earth." General Mitchell looked around the command center, meeting the eyes of each person present. "This is what we prepared for, people. Humanity's real test begins now, not in how well we fight, but in how well we can forge understanding." Echo's lights created patterns of pure joy as the Void Hunter ship came peacefully closer. After thousands of years of testing species through combat, the ancient Guardians had finally found what they were looking for. A civilization that understood that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to find another way. As preparations began for the first peaceful contact with the Void Hunters, Anna worked with Echo to craft the perfect welcome message. They had passed the first part of the test, but an even greater challenge lay ahead, proving that humanity could help these ancient Guardians understand that their mission could be accomplished through understanding rather than destruction. The face of war had indeed proven unexpected, not in the weapons used or the tactics employed, but in the fundamental realization that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from fighting at all, but from having the courage to try something no one had ever tried before. The meeting room fell silent as the Void Hunter representatives entered. They were not what anyone had expected. Like their ships, they seemed to be made of living darkness, their forms shifting and flowing like liquid shadows. They moved with a grace that suggested both great age and great power. Anna Reeves stood next to Echo, whose crystalline form pulsed with gentle light. On the other side of the room, Captain Maxwell and General Mitchell waited with Earth's diplomatic team. Susan Barnes and Ryan Foster were there too, ready to help explain humanity's technology and intentions. The lead Void Hunter entity moved forward, its form creating patterns in the air that Echo helped Anna understand. "We are the Guardians," Anna translated as the patterns formed, created by the ancients to protect the galaxy from itself. "For 50,000 years, we have tested species who reach for the stars. You are the first to truly surprise us." General Mitchell stepped forward. "We want to understand your purpose," she said, her words converted into energy patterns that the Void Hunters could comprehend. "Why do you test civilizations this way?" The Void Hunter's form rippled, creating new patterns. Anna watched carefully as Echo helped her interpret. "Our creators were a species called the Morai," she translated. "They achieved great power, spread across thousands of worlds. But their advancement brought only destruction. They created weapons that could destroy stars, machines that could tear apart reality. In the end, they nearly destroyed themselves, and much of the galaxy with them." Captain Maxwell nodded slowly. "So they created you to prevent other species from following the same path?" "Yes," the Void Hunter's patterns confirmed. "They programmed us to test species who achieve faster than light travel, to eliminate those who show the same aggressive patterns, the same hunger for power at any cost." Ryan Foster stepped forward, holding data tablets showing Earth's technology. But we're not as advanced as many of the species you've encountered. Our weapons aren't nearly as powerful as the Luminis were. The Void Hunter's form shifted, showing patterns that Echo indicated meant something like amusement. It was never about the level of technology, Anna translated. It was about how species choose to use what they have. Every civilization we tested responded to our arrival with maximum aggression. They proved they would choose force as their first and only option. But we chose differently, Susan Barnes said. Yes, the Void Hunter responded through its patterns. You are the first to seek understanding before conflict, the first to try to communicate rather than fight. In doing so, you have shown wisdom our creators never expected to find. Echo's lights pulsed excitedly as it added its own patterns to the conversation. Anna translated for everyone. Echo says that its people, the Lumini, never understood why they were being tested. They thought they had to prove their strength, but we proved something else, our ability to think beyond simple force. The lead Void Hunter moved closer to Echo, their patterns interacting in a beautiful display of light and shadow. The Lumini fought bravely. Anna translated their exchange. But like others, they did not understand the true test. You, humans, have shown us something new. You have made us question our own programming. General Mitchell raised an eyebrow. Question it how? The Void Hunter's response created complex patterns that took both Echo and Anna a moment to understand. For 50,000 years, we have been destroying civilizations that we judged unworthy. But in doing so, we may have been perpetuating the very cycle of violence we were meant to prevent. You have shown us there might be another way. Over the next few hours, humans and Void Hunters shared information. The ancient machines revealed more about their history, their purpose, and their growing doubts about their methods. Ryan and his team explained human technology, showing how Earth had focused on communication and understanding rather than just developing better weapons. We propose a new approach, Captain Maxwell said as the meeting neared its end. Instead of testing species through war, work with us to help guide them. Share the wisdom of the ages. Help them learn from the mistakes of the past. Be teachers rather than executioners. The Void Hunter's patterns showed deep consideration of this idea. When they responded, their patterns were stronger and clearer than before. For 50,000 years, we have been guardians who protect through destruction. Anna translated their response. Perhaps it is time to become guardians who protect through guidance, but we will need help to learn this new way. Echo's lights created patterns of joy as it offered its own suggestion. The Lumini can be rebuilt, Anna translated. With the Void Hunter's help, we can bring them back from the brink of extinction. Let that be the first step in this new approach. The lead Void Hunter's form shifted into a pattern that Echo identified as agreement. We will help restore the Lumini, Anna translated. And in return, humanity will help us learn to be different kinds of guardians. Together, we will find new ways to guide species who reach for the stars. General Mitchell smiled. And what about Earth? Have we passed your test? The Void Hunter's response was immediate and clear. You have done more than pass, Anna translated. You have changed the nature of the test itself. From this day forward, species will not be judged by their ability to fight, but by their wisdom in finding better ways. As the meeting concluded, plans were made for the future. The Void Hunters would help humanity improve their technology, not for war, but for exploration and understanding. Earth would become a center for galactic diplomacy, a place where species could learn from each other rather than fear each other. Anna watched as Echo and the Void Hunters exchanged complex patterns of light and shadow, their ancient disagreements giving way to new understanding. Humanity had not only survived their greatest test, they had transformed it into something new. The unexpected face of war, she said quietly to Captain Maxwell, turned out to be peace. Maxwell nodded, watching as humans, Lumini, and Void Hunters worked together to plan a new future. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the fight, he replied. It's in finding a way to avoid it altogether. Outside the meeting room, The stars shone brightly in the night sky. But now they weren't just distant lights. They were beacons of possibility, promising a future where understanding would replace fear and wisdom would matter more than weapons. The age of testing was over. The age of teaching had begun.